This story goes like this. My name is Tom. I work for a company. My daily routine is the same every day. Wake up at 7 a.m., leave the house at 8 a.m., arrive at the office by 9 a.m., sit in front of the computer until 6 p.m., and then head home. Nothing exciting, just a routine, flat as a plank of wood. Well, that was the case just a week ago. Little did I know that I was about to encounter a strange event that would stay with me forever. Day 1. I remember it was around 3 p.m. during the afternoon coffee break when my phone rang. It was my sister's husband, V. I was surprised because since my sister, Top, married him, we hadn't really spoken much. It's not that I disliked him, but my family didn't really approve of V because he had been married before. At first, I had some prejudice and even told my parents not to blame Top for marrying him. But deep down, I didn't like V much. Over time, though, I came to realize that V was a good head of the family. Back to the phone call. V asked if I was busy. I replied that I wasn't and asked if there was anything I could help with. At first, V said there was nothing and that he just wanted to chat. Bingo! V was lying. I know him well enough to know that he would never call just to chat unless there was an issue. He's the kind of person who's very confident and sees my family as old-fashioned, so we rarely talk unless it's something urgent. I asked again if something was wrong. V paused for a moment and then asked if I could stay with Top because he had to go on a business trip to Myanmar for a week and there would be no one to keep her company. I didn't waste any time and immediately agreed. Although Top can be a bit of a complainer, she's still my sister. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, I was getting bored with my routine, so a change sounded good. Their house was in a residential development in Ratanati Bet. I'd visited a few times, but not often. They lived together as a family of 3, V, Top, and their daughter. Like I said, V is a good guy, but after Top married him, we didn't talk much. The last time I visited their house was probably when I bought a gold ankle bracelet for my niece a couple of years ago. After work, I went home to pack and told my parents I was going to stay with Top for a few days. I left my house and headed to Top's. When I arrived, both of them were waiting outside. Top was really happy to see me. We chatted for a bit, catching up since I hadn't seen her in a year. After a while, V pulled me aside and whispered that I should keep an eye on Top because she had been acting strange lately. She didn't sleep much, sometimes staying up until 3 or 4 a.m. After V left, I followed Top inside the house. The moment I stepped inside, I heard a jingling sound. At that moment, I didn't think anything of it. But in the coming days, I would experience something that would completely change my perspective on the supernatural. I noticed that Top looked tired, so I asked her why she looked so worn out. She nodded and said she couldn't sleep well. Then she went silent. I asked where her daughter, Song, was. Top explained that Song had been sick lately and wasn't going to school. After a while, Song, her daughter, came out. She was almost 4 years old, and when I saw her, I was even more puzzled. Song looked just as pale as her mother and had a messy, uneven haircut. Honestly, if I knew who did this, I was ready to go and give them a piece of my mind. The next strange thing was about Song's hair. I asked her playfully, "Which salon did your mom take you to for your haircut?" At that moment, both Song and Top answered at the same time, but with different answers. Top said she had done it, but Song said she had cut it herself. I asked again who had really cut it. Top replied loudly, "I did it." I joked, "Well, you must have taken her to a salon, huh, with that uneven cut." Then I went to take a shower. While showering, I heard the jingling sound again. It came intermittently, and when I tried to listen carefully, it would stop. But when I turned on the shower or did something else, the sound would come back, faintly blending with other noises. It wasn't like I was trying to think too positively. It's just that it could have been some bells from the neighbors or a wind chime. That night, after dinner, we sat together on the couch watching TV. Top was putting Song to sleep in her lap. I offered to take Song to bed, but Top said she would do it herself. We chatted until around 10 p.m., and then we went to bed. That's when I noticed something strange. Top's house had multiple layers of locks, 1 bolt, 2 padlocks. I joked, "With all these locks, why not just put up metal bars?" Top laughed and told me they had a lot of break-ins around the neighborhood and asked me to go to bed. The host said it like that, so as a guest, I just had to go along. I went into the bedroom, got my clothes ready for the next day, then flopped onto the bed and scrolled through my phone aimlessly. I remember glancing at the clock. It was almost 11 p.m., so I got up to turn off the lights. As soon as the room went dark, my ears seemed to be working too well because I heard that jingling sound again. Honestly, I didn't think much of it. That kind of sound is everywhere. I woke up suddenly around 1 a.m. because I needed to pee. When I walked out into the hallway, I found Top sitting on the second floor landing, dozing off. I asked her why she wasn't in bed at such a late hour. Top replied that she wasn't sleepy. Wait a minute. Liar! I had just seen her nodding off. Top looked startled. I knew my sister well enough to sense that something was off. I pressed her, asking if something was bothering her, if she and V had fought. She shook her head. I had to play the "I'm your brother" card and told her that if there was anything wrong, she should just tell me so I could help. After a long silence, Top softly said that for the past few months, Song had been acting strangely at night. I asked her what she meant by strangely. Top replied, Song has been sleepwalking. I objected, saying that kids and sleepwalking go hand in hand. Top shook her head and said, not like this. Song walks all over the house in her sleep. Once she even walked outside in the middle of the night. Top continued, one night she was sleeping on the bed while V and Song slept on futons on the floor when she heard some clattering noises. She got up and went downstairs in the dark. There, she saw the front door wide open. Looking through the curtain, she saw Song trying to climb over the fence. Top panicked, ran to grab her daughter and brought her back inside. Song woke up with a start, looked at her for a moment, and then fell back asleep as if nothing had happened. That's when I started to feel uneasy. But being a man, I tried to brush it off and told myself it was just a coincidence. Top said she thought the same thing at first, but after that, she started locking all the doors in the house, just to be safe. There was a moment of silence, and then Top looked even paler. She went on, in a nervous voice, to say that a few days later, V was away, so she and Song went to bed early. Around 10 p.m., Top suddenly woke up and instinctively looked for her daughter, only to discover that Song was missing again. She ran downstairs. All the doors were still locked tight, but one window was open. Frantic, she searched inside and outside the house, but couldn't find Song. She was about to call the police after phoning her husband, when suddenly the security guard stationed near the entrance to the neighborhood rode up to the house on his bike. He told Top that while patrolling, he had heard what sounded like a bell jingling and a loud metallic creaking. So he followed the sound and found a small child playing on the swing alone at 10 p.m. When he got closer, he realized it was Song. He asked her what she was doing out there so late and where her mom was, but Song didn't answer. No matter what he asked, she stayed silent. So he came to get Top to bring her daughter home. The moment Top said the word bell, I got goosebumps all over. Top followed the guard to the playground, and sure enough, there was Song swinging back and forth, creak, creak, all by herself. If it had been during the day, that would have been one thing. But this was at night. It wasn't even that late, and the playground wasn't far from the house, but still, it was completely unnatural for a child that young to be out there alone. And most importantly, someone that small couldn't explain anything clearly. Yikes. Just imagining it gave me chills. When I heard all of this, I admit I felt a sinking feeling in my chest. I asked if she had taken Song to see a doctor. Top said she had, and the doctor said it might be a case of somnambulism or sleepwalking, and that the symptoms would improve as she got older. That night, I sat with Top and talked until nearly morning, and that's when I realized all those locks weren't meant to keep people out. They were meant to keep someone in. I spent the whole day thinking about what Top had told me, so I decided to call V. But V brushed it off, saying Top was just being paranoid. He said she'd been staying up late watching movies and TV series, and that she was afraid their daughter would wander off again. That's why he had decided to add extra locks to all the doors and windows. But even with that, Top would still stay up every night watching over their daughter until 2 or 3 a.m. He had tried to stop her many times, but she wouldn't listen. She was just too worried about her child. I kept trying to convince myself that there was nothing to worry about. But Deep down, my mind kept jumping to horror films like The Conjuring or Insidious. I didn't know if those thoughts were reasonable, but it felt better than doing nothing. No, I didn't go looking for ghost hunters like the Warrens. Instead, I took a half day off from work and bought a set of 4 easy-to-install security cameras on sale. Since I had a bit of technical know-how, I managed to set one up inside and one outside the house. But being a newbie at this, I could only install 2 before it got dark. I took the chance to talk to Song, like asking if she remembered sleepwalking out of the house. She said she had no memory of it at all. And because she was still very young, with a short attention span, the conversation felt like we were speaking 2 different languages. I got nothing useful from her. Honestly, when the sun was still up, I felt excited, like I was a detective on a case, searching for the truth. But once night fell, that excitement turned into fear. The neighborhood where Top lived was eerily quiet at night. By 8 p.m., every house had its lights off. I went to talk to Top, told her not to overthink things and to go to bed early. I'd keep an eye on things through the app. After everyone had gone to bed, I just sat with my phone, watching the camera feeds and scrolling aimlessly until I started to feel drowsy and fell asleep. That's when the terrifying part happened. I didn't know what time it was, but I faintly heard that jingling sound again. Not once or twice, but repeatedly, rapidly, along with the sound of footsteps. Thud. Not too close, but not far either. It was inside the house. I could hear everything clearly, but my body was numb. It felt like I was half asleep, half awake. My vision was blurry, shadows all around the room. I tried to get up, but my body felt heavy. The more I resisted, the more I felt sleepy. It was like sleep paralysis. I held on for a bit, and then blacked out. But just before I lost consciousness, I felt a sharp pain right in my ribs. When I woke up the next morning, the first thing I felt was soreness in my ribs. I figured I must have slept in a weird position. When I went downstairs, I found Top and Song. Top told me she had the best night's sleep she'd had in a year. Well, that made me happy. My sister finally seemed at peace. I took a shower, had breakfast, and got ready to go to work. But just before I left the house, I clearly heard a soft giggle right next to my ear. I swear it wasn't my imagination. I really heard it. Really heard it. I quickly turned to the only child near me. Song was standing there, staring straight at me. หากคุณต้องการรวมทุกวันเป็นเรื่องเดียวกัน That day was hectic at work because I had left early the day before. It was already late in the afternoon by the time I finished clearing my tasks. When I finally had a moment to breathe, I checked the security camera feed on my phone. I saw Top walking to the back of the house with a laundry basket, probably going to do the washing. So I got back to work. After a while, I caught a glimpse of something in the corner of my eye. When I looked at the video again, I saw Song walking past the camera and climbing up to stand precariously on the edge of the dining table. I panicked and yelled, "Hey!" afraid she'd fall and flip the whole table over. I immediately tried calling Top, but she probably didn't take her phone with her. I didn't even know the landline number. I opened the app again and Song was still standing completely still, head down, on top of the table. Like, not even flinching. I kept calling while flipping between screens on the app. From the angle she was standing, I could see something tightly fastened around her ankle, a pair of ankle bracelets with little bells. I'll admit, I don't have kids, so I don't know exactly when children stop wearing those. But if I had to guess, probably no later than age 2. And Song was nearly 4. Why was she still wearing them? Or had she just put them on recently? Why hadn't I seen them before? My head was spinning with questions. But more than confusion, I was worried. I didn't want her to fall off the table. A moment later, she climbed down safely, right as Top came back into the house. Weird. Song had always been such a well-behaved kid. In all the time I'd known her, she had never been reckless like that. Shortly after, Top called me and asked why I'd called so many times. I almost told her everything I saw, but honestly, I didn't want to worry her more than she already was. So I just said I saw Song climbing on the table and told her to keep an eye on her. Top replied with an, okay, and hung up. I was still trying to stay optimistic. But the thought that the jingling sound I'd heard for 2 nights might not be wine chimes, that thought started to sink in. When I got home, I instinctively glanced at Song's ankles first. No bracelets. I looked for a good moment to ask her if she had worn them that day. Her answer confused me even more. She said no. Now that didn't make sense at all. Did I just imagine it? Later that evening, things seemed calmer. With me around, Top seemed more at ease and had started going to bed earlier. That night, she asked me to lock up the house since she was taking Song upstairs to bed. Once I heard the sound of her bedroom door closing, I stepped outside to lock the front gate and casually glanced around the neighborhood. Just then, I saw a house across the street backing their car into the driveway. One of the neighbors stepped out to close their gate. I waved and greeted him. "Good evening. Just got back from work, huh?" I didn't even finish my sentence. He didn't reply, didn't even look at me. Instead, he stared upward at something, his face suddenly tense, then quickly rushed into the house without a word. That neighbor went back inside, and silence fell over everything. I stepped through the gate and stood in the middle of the street, glancing up and down. For crying out loud, every house had its lights off, all completely quiet. The sound of the wind rustling through the leaves felt exactly like a scene from La La Land. I couldn't stand there any longer. Time to head back inside. As I turned around to go back in, my eyes wandered up to the second floor. One of the curtains, just for a moment, parted open slightly, but when I stared at it, it quickly slid back into place. I felt a chill shoot up my neck. That room was supposed to be empty. No one used it. I locked the gate and ran straight upstairs to Top's room, knocked on the door and told her to wake me early the next day. Then I casually asked if she had gone to the bathroom and maybe didn't turn the faucet off all the way. Top replied she hadn't left the room at all. She was putting Song to sleep when I knocked. Then she asked if something was wrong. Well, crap. Not funny anymore. Who the hell opened the curtain? There were only 3 people in the whole house. Top, Tom, and Song. Still, I bit my tongue and said it was nothing, but I wasn't taking any chances. I went straight to the Buddha shelf, grabbed a small statue, and quietly made my way to the room in question. My heart was pounding as I reached out to open the door. As I expected, empty. Not a single piece of furniture, just curtains, and most importantly, every window was tightly shut. So how the hell did the curtain move like that? I closed the door and bolted back to my room. Then, I have no idea why, I started searching up stuff about people who had been possessed, watched videos, read forums, switched between that and checking the night vision cam footage. Only made me more scared. I stayed up for ages before finally drifting off. Then, that sound again. Jingling, the sound of running feet, inside the house. I was lying on my side, facing the wall, back toward the door. Half asleep, half paralyzed. I heard the creak of the door opening. Then saw a soft orange light cast onto the wall, followed by the shadow of a person, and that damned bell sound. If I had turned around in that moment, I knew I'd see something, but I couldn't do it. I lay there shaking, frozen with fear. Then it happened again, a sharp jab of pain in the same spot along my ribs, and everything went dark. I woke up still feeling sore in the same place. Got up, washed my face, and headed downstairs. There, I saw a note written in Top's handwriting. Took Song to give alms this morning. Please lock up before you leave for work. Love you, little brother. After I showered and got dressed, I stepped outside the house. I looked around, hoping to spot some wind chime or bell that could explain everything. Nothing. Not a single one. It was Friday. I couldn't concentrate at work the whole day. I kept scrolling through the security footage on my phone. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, really. But I didn't need some sixth sense. I trusted what I had already seen. So in the end, I decided to buy one more IP camera. Since tomorrow was Saturday, I told myself I'd stay up and keep watch all night. Of course, that was in the middle of the day, when I was still full of courage. By this point, I couldn't come up with any more excuses. When I got home that evening, I went straight to talk to Top. I told her directly that I wanted to set up a camera in her room for just one night. She looked confused and asked what was going on. I dodged the question and said, "Don't ask just yet. I just need to take a nap. Wake me up around 7:30. I've got a report to submit." Not true. I just wanted to recharge. Top woke me up a little before 8. I washed my face and got into position. Honestly, I felt like I was on one of those ghost hunting shows. I set up my laptop and phone, opened a few random tabs, and kept myself busy just to pass the time. By midnight, though, I started doubting myself. Am I just losing my mind? What if there's nothing at all? I leaned back for a quick rest, but the moment I started to drift off, that sound again, I snapped upright. No dream, no imagination. The sound was real. I checked the usual camera app, nothing strange. Then I switched to the IP camera app, and the black and white feed made my skin crawl. The bed was messy, and Top was sleeping on it, alone. As I stared in shock, the jingling came again, this time with the thud of footsteps running toward my room. Then I heard it, right outside the door. My eyes were fixed on the doorknob, terrified it might turn. All that midday courage? Gone. After a while, the footsteps went downstairs. Thud, jingle, thud, jingle. I froze, listening, until it all faded. Then I remembered. The cameras. I switched to the indoor feed. What I saw almost made me stop breathing. Song was wandering around the house, alone. My mind was racing. Should I go downstairs? Should I not? In the end, concern and curiosity won. I decided to follow her. But I wasn't stupid like people in horror movies. I turned on every light I passed. The problem was the ground floor switch was far from the stairs. In the dark, I squinted. There, on the couch, a shadowy figure sat slumped. I wanted to scream loud enough to wake the whole neighborhood, but all that came out was S. Song. No reply, a little louder this time. So. Song. Still nothing. I was scared out of my mind, but I held my breath and crept toward the light switch. Click. The lights came on, and there she was, Song, sitting on the couch. Around her ankle was a silver anklet with bells, softly jingling. At the time, I didn't think twice about the color or the anklet itself. With the lights on, some of my fear faded. I approached and asked, "Song, why are you sitting here? Why aren't you asleep?" She looked at me and replied simply, "I'm lonely." Then she flopped over, lying down on the couch. Every hair on my arms and neck stood straight up. I'm lonely? What was that? She never referred to herself that way before. Why? Without hesitation, I immediately shouted for Top. I heard her faintly calling for her daughter, so I yelled again that Song was downstairs. My sister came running down, looking panicked. She asked what was happening, so I had to tell her everything and asked what was really going on with my niece. Top sighed deeply and explained that besides Song wandering outside the house before, another strange incident had happened about a week ago. Song disappeared from her bed, and when Top got up, she found her daughter standing in front of the mirror, cutting her own hair. Many of the things that happened were not actions typical of a child. Since then, worried sick, Top refused to sleep and stayed up every night watching over Song. I was both scared and angry, saying, "This is no small matter anymore." I asked if she had told V yet. Top said she had, but V thought it was nonsense. I pointed at the anklet on Song's ankle and asked if it was the one I had bought to celebrate her birth. Top said no. Hers was a gold anklet, and she had taken it off and put it away a long time ago. But as for the silver anklet with bells, she had no idea who gave it to Song. I told her this was really strange. From the first night until now, the bell sound had been heard every night. It would be best to take off that anklet and put it away safely. Top agreed and took it off. When the anklet was removed, red marks appeared on Song's ankle. I felt sorry for my niece. Then I helped carry Song back up to her room. I told them I would stay up with them tonight. After chatting a bit, I said I would try to take her to see a monk we trusted to sprinkle holy water and bless the house tomorrow. After that, we all went to bed. That night, before falling asleep, I felt the same sharp pain again in the lower ribs area. The next day was a day off. I woke up around 9, washed my face, brushed my teeth, then went downstairs to talk with Top and Song. Everything seemed normal. Song looked lively, smiling, and playing. We agreed to change the atmosphere by going out to eat. After showering, I sat downstairs waiting for Top. Meanwhile, I opened the apps as usual and checked the CCTV recordings. After finishing, I looked through the IP camera footage casually until about 3 a.m. What I saw on the recording almost made me drop my phone. On the video, Top and Song were lying on the bed and I was sleeping on the floor. I don't know if it was right or wrong to set the camera up because it showed things I never expected to see. Suddenly, a dark shadow, vaguely human-shaped, appeared in the frame. The shadow paced around a bit, then stopped beside me. The image was unclear, but from the movement, the shadow seemed to lift a leg and stomp down on my ribcage. I sat frozen for a long time. When I finally snapped back to reality, I shouted, "Top!" and ran upstairs. I found Top dressing Song. I told her to pack our clothes immediately. We were going to stay at Mom and Dad's place. Top asked what was wrong. I hesitated, then she raised her voice, demanding to know what happened. I snapped back, "We can't stay here anymore," and showed her the clip on my phone. Her face went pale, but she stayed calm and nodded in acknowledgement. Then she packed her things and songs. At that moment, I asked where the anklet was. Top said it was in a drawer. I rummaged through every nook and cranny of the drawer, but the silver anklet with bells had vanished. Never mind. As long as it wasn't on my niece's ankle, I was fine. I took Top and Song out of the house around 10 a.m. I was determined not to sleep in that house again. When we arrived at Mom and Dad's, who were still upset with Top, they were surprised to see her. I told them everything. Dad said, like V, it was nonsense, and when shown the video, said it was unclear. Mom seemed to take my story seriously and comforted her daughter. Top, who usually acted tough and hid her feelings, completely broke down and cried on Mom's chest. Later that same evening, V called Top, asking where she was. Top said she was at Mom and Dad's and asked where V was. V said she had returned to Thailand and was parked outside her house. Top asked her to come by Mom and Dad's place as there was something to discuss. The line then went silent. At first, Top thought V was still upset with her family and wouldn't come. But shortly after, V said, "Why don't you take Song to visit her grandparents' house too?" "Huh? What?" That caught everyone off guard. V then added casually, "Let me get inside first. Tom's home, right?" Top quickly said, "He's right here beside me." Hearing this, V angrily yelled, "How can you leave your child home alone without an adult?" "What?" I quickly grabbed the phone from my sister and told V to come over as soon as possible. V said she didn't want to go and would stay with her daughter at home. I yelled, "Don't go inside. Whatever you see is not Song, because your daughter is right here beside me. But I see someone inside the house for real, so I have to check." Then V hung up. Hey, I was about to tell her not to play detective. Somebody else had done that before too. But right now that guy was already at Mom and Dad's house. We tried calling V, but no answer. Panic hit us hard. Top urged me to hurry home. We left Song with our parents and sped off to V's house immediately. As soon as we got in the car, I opened the app and asked Top to hold the phone. The mood felt like watching Paranormal Activity mixed with the Elisa Lam case. But since it was happening so close to home, the fear multiplied tenfold. The CCTV footage. The front door camera caught V opening the gate and walking up to the glass door. She looked inside and pulled out her keys to unlock it. Suddenly, V was startled by something and stepped back, dropping her keys. She hesitated around there, then picked up a small trowel from beside a flower pot, bent down to grab the keys, and unlocked the door. I shouted, No, don't." I told Top to try calling her again, but V didn't answer, probably left the phone in her car. I said to call the house phone, but Top said there was no landline number. At the same time, V, who was about to check the first camera, stepped back again as if shocked by something, then slowly walked into the house a second time. I told Top to switch to the indoor camera feed, night mode. Every time we left the house, Top would switch off some circuit breakers, so even if the lights were switched on, they wouldn't come on. We saw V sneak around, looking left and right nervously. Suddenly, I cursed loudly when I saw a dark shadow, like the one that stepped on my stomach last night, appear right behind V. Comparing the size, it looked like a child following an adult, but V didn't see it. She headed toward the kitchen, possibly to switch off the breaker or because she saw something else. But one thing was certain, V had no idea a dark shadow was right behind her. The moment V disappeared from the camera was very brief, but it almost gave Top and me a heart attack. If it weren't for family, I would never step foot in that house at night. I asked if there was a neighbor's number. Turns out V had one, but Top didn't. So there were two choices left. 1, call the police. 2, rush to V's house as fast as possible. For many reasons, we reluctantly chose option 2. From the footage, the lights inside the house turned on. V walked out of the kitchen, passed in front of the camera, and went upstairs. That was the camera's limit. It couldn't capture anything beyond that angle. Shortly after, V came rushing back down, hesitated, and went back up again. Whatever she saw, we wouldn't know. One thing was clear. Top and I couldn't see what happened on the second floor, except if V entered the bedroom. Luckily, there was still one IP camera left in that room. I sped up, determined to reach V's house as fast as possible, while Top switched between cameras. The front door footage showed nothing unusual, but as soon as she checked the living room camera, our hearts dropped. The lights were flickering, and then they went out completely. Please tell me that was just a coincidence. I told Top to only focus on the indoor and bedroom cameras. At the same time, I asked her if there was anything she hadn't told me. Why was this haunting getting worse and worse? With a trembling voice, Top said, V didn't leave his past very clean. What does that even mean? But Top didn't answer. Frustrated, I snapped at her again, but she remained silent. I turned and saw her staring hard at her phone. On screen, V had turned on the bedroom light and opened the door, still holding the trowel, ready to swing at anything that moved. Judging from his body language, he probably still thought it was a burglar or thief, not something paranormal. He inspected every corner of the room. Then he stopped in front of the vanity table, right near the camera. V picked up an item and turned it in his hand. It was the silver anklet with the bells. Wait, what? How the hell did it end up there? We just searched for it before leaving the house, not on the table, not in the drawers. But now, there it was, sitting out in plain sight. V sat down on the bed, lifted the anklet to examine it, and then put it into his shirt pocket. That was the last thing we saw. It wasn't the lights turning off this time. Our backup power was finally gone. The phone battery died. Forget it. By then, we had reached the entrance to the neighborhood. I'll admit it straight. I was terrified. Readers may be intrigued, but the people actually experiencing it were terrified out of their minds. I told Top we should ask the security guard to come with us, but under no circumstances was she allowed to tell him what was going on. Just in case we ever had to sell the house, any rumor would be a huge problem. And even if the guard seemed like a nice guy, we couldn't guarantee he wouldn't go telling everyone. If the entire neighborhood found out, it would be Top and her family who'd suffer the consequences. The guard looked confused as we picked him up at the gate. I drove up and parked behind V's car. The whole house was pitch dark, pure Lataland vibes. As soon as we opened the gate, the sound welcomed us. Jingling bells. I pushed the guard forward and asked him to walk around the house perimeter. Meanwhile, Top and I went inside. Top called out to V while I flipped the breaker again. The lights came back on. We went upstairs calling, V! V! When no one answered, we made a beeline for the problem room. Inside, we found V lying on the bed. We called to him several times before he finally woke up, looking startled and confused. Then he turned to Top and said, I saw Pan. Pan who? Just by context, it was obvious Pan must be connected to V somehow. We all went downstairs to talk. V finally opened up. Before marrying Top, he had been in a relationship with a woman. They had a daughter named Pan. V didn't want to talk badly about his old family, but from what he shared, Pan was a sweet little girl with a personality quite similar to Song. But of course, a child's behavior depends heavily on their environment. V described himself as a confident and strong-willed person, whereas his ex-partner had a fiery temper and sharp tongue. They argued constantly. Eventually, they had a long talk and realized their relationship couldn't work out. The separation that hurt the child the most. What seemed like a clean break for the adults turned out to be something far more damaging for a small child. For more than 2 years, a once pure white cloth became stained with marks that no amount of washing could remove. Pan, the little girl, turned into a temperamental and aggressive child. After the separation, V's ex-wife took custody of their daughter. V still supported her financially as he should. At first, he visited often, but as time passed, the visits became rare. The problem was that the timeline of V ending his past relationship and starting a new one with Top overlapped quite a bit, and I think that explained why Top always looked uncomfortable whenever this topic came up. Life carried on seemingly normal, until just a few months ago. V's ex called and said Pan had died in an accident. V attended the funeral, and afterward, the ex gave him a silver anklet that Pan used to wear when she was little as a keepsake. V brought the anklet home and kept it. Cut to the night. V returned from his overseas trip. When he got home, he saw a shadow standing on the second floor. He rushed inside and heard the sound of footsteps and faint jingling bells echoing throughout the house. He searched every corner but found nothing, only that familiar sound of footsteps. When he entered the bedroom, he saw the silver anklet on the table and picked it up. He dozed off and dreamed of Pan sitting beside him. In the dream, Pan said she was lonely. V turned to look at me, as if he wanted to say something, but he kept quiet. Everything seemed to click into place. I didn't want to believe that something like this could truly happen. But I admit, for a brief moment, a dark thought crept in. Was all of this not just coincidence? Still, I brushed that thought away. After all, no matter what people say, a mother, even when exhausted, angry, strict, yelling, punishing, or even a single mother, her love and sacrifice for her child is real and unchanging. The next day, we all went to perform a merit-making ceremony in Pan's name. We took the anklet and included it in the religious ritual, then buried it afterward. We asked for forgiveness for anything that may have been done wrong in life or in spirit. After that day, nothing strange happened again. Months later, I visited V's house again. Suddenly, he pulled me aside and told me about a dream he had of Pan. In the dream, Pan said she didn't really like me. Huh. I was confused. I never even knew her in life. V went on, saying that in the dream, Pan told him she liked it when Song wore the silver anklet, but Song always said she preferred the gold-plated one instead. Wait, don't tell me I got stomped on in my sleep because of that. Later, when Song was in a cheerful mood, I gently brought up the topic. I chatted with her casually before asking outright, "Have you ever seen a little girl in this house?" She smiled and replied, "Yes, Uncle Tom." And that's where the story ends. Thank you for following along.